Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is William Childress. I'm the Executive Director of the Dealer Board. And I want to give you a quick, overview of what to expect this morning for the visitors. There's at least two of you in the room that I'm aware of. This morning, the first part of the morning is committee meetings. Each committee will meet. We have 4 committees that will meet. And during the committee meetings, your cases will be called to be reviewed. During the committee meeting, only the committee members can discuss and vote on your case. Okay. Later in the morning, when the committee meetings are over with, well, the committee will render a decision, a recommendation for the board to consider. So that's the first time. The second time, when the full board meets, when all the board members around the table will be able to consider your case. Oh yeah, thank you. Please silence your cell phones, please, if you can. Or put them on vibrate. Thank you. During the board meeting, your case will be heard again, and this time the entire board will hear it. Just because a committee may have one finding don't mean that the full board will support that finding. Something different may arise. But either way, during both sessions, you have a chance to speak to your case and answer questions, okay? So please, after the first committee meeting this morning takes place, once you speak, please stay so you can speak for the entire board, because there's 2 different bodies, 2 different thought processes. It could be 2 different outcomes. That's understood? All right. Otherwise, once the full board considers your case and that takes place, and if you want to leave at that time, you're free to do so. But I would encourage you to stay at least through the committee meeting this morning, which is first, and then the full board meeting, which will follow sometime around 10 o'clock or afterwards. But your cases will be heard. You will have a chance to come to the podium and state your case, answer questions of the board members, and we appreciate you being here, first of all. So thank you for being here. This makes the process more complete and gives you a chance to present information or speak to the committee and to the board members about facts and things that they might not be aware of from the hearing or through the readings. You have any questions from either one of you? Okay, with that said, Mr. Wiley.
Okay, I'm going to call the Dealer Practices Committee meeting to order. Alice, could you please take the roll?
Ron Cody, Andrew Wiley,
Here.
Dan Bannister,
Here.
Gardner Britt,
Here.
Rob Fisher,
Here.
David Lynn,
Here.
Chris Mayer,
Here.
Jeff Malloy,
Here.
RJ Robinson,
Here.
Nick Roach,
Here.
Don Sullivan.
Here. Sounds like we have a quorum. Regarding public comment, anybody that's on the agenda will have an opportunity to speak when their agenda item comes up. Just make sure when we call for you, you let us know that you're here. Gonna assume that if there's no objections, we're gonna approve the September 2023 committee meeting summary that's in your book. We have no old business. Is there any old business from the floor? There's no old business from the floor, so we're gonna move on to new business. I'll let William get started here in a second. We have 3 tabs today. All of them deal with primarily business hours and a couple other things. I just made note, committee members, if you read through these, all 3 of these have pretty different recommendations. So something we might want to talk about as we're going through these. But we'll start out with tab 1. William.
Thank you, sir. Exclusive Auto Sale LLC and Jalila Khalid. On September 7th, 2023, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1533, 46.2-1534, 46.2-1548, and 46.2-1575, number 2. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended assessing a civil penalty of $850, a successful inspection within 30 days, and to successfully complete the 2-day dealer operator course.
Is there anybody here to speak to tab 1? Okay, so William, I've got a couple of questions on this before we really get started. So if I'm reading this case right, this guy had a dealership called Dream Auto Sales, and he had some inspection issues there. Then essentially was getting closed down. It even says in the record that he never returned his dealer plates. I'm assuming we eventually got them, did we not?
Nope.
So we never got the dealer plates from the first deal. Then he goes in, takes another, so we completely suspended that dealership altogether,
Close it down. yes.
closed it down. Then he went in and got, another license, went back through the class, I guess. So this guy's taken the dealer operated class twice, I would assume. He must have taken it once before he opened the first dealership. He just took it in 2023 to open this dealership. He's already got violations, and there's a list of them. I mean, it's not just he wasn't open. He wasn't open, he didn't have records. There's titles that weren't signed proper. There's titles that are signed to the old dealership. I'm reading all that correctly, right?
So far,
And yet, the hearing officer's recommendation for this gentleman is one, to take the class again, which would be the third time he was taking the class. I mean,
Third time's a charm, right?
well, I mean, I understand that, you know, when you've got a dealer that has violations, repeated violations, that if they haven't taken the class in a while, that there's a education function to send them to the class, perhaps a little bit of a punitive function to make them close down and have to go take the class. But this guy's taken the class twice, probably in the last 3 years. Still continues to get all these violations, and yet our recommendation is just for $850 and inspection and send it back to class. I don't get it. Like, it seems, I don't know. I wish that the gentleman had showed up, because I don't know why he's in business. I mean, he's not,
Sold
Selling-
6 cars.
yeah, he's not selling cars. He's not maintaining his hours. He's not following through with the basics with paperwork, having the title signed properly, having somebody at the dealership that can do what needs to be done. I just don't understand that. And he still hasn't returned the tags from the first time, which seems reason enough not to license them the second time, but I don't know. So the committee, what do y'all think? Don?
Well, I mean, is it okay to make the motion now?
Well, we're in discussion right now.
Well, maybe we should talk. before we get
I think
into-
we ought to pump the brakes just a
Well,
little bit.
yeah, I mean, I don't understand that. I think $850 is probably very lenient, and I don't think that's gonna get his attention.
I think $850 in addition to the class, because it costs money to go to the class. It's not cheap. It's a 2-day process. And whether he's been there twice or not, apparently the hearing officer thinks he needs to go there again. So I think what the hearing officer has recommended is correct. It's not our job whether you sell cars or don't sell cars to put them in or take them out of business. You're not required to sell cars to have a dealer's license in the state of Virginia. So
But you are required to like maintain your hours, to have your title signed, to have your paperwork done. This guy from a previous dealership didn't do it right, didn't even return calls about getting the plates back. None of that, and then he gets another dealership, which he's not even open a year, and already has multiple violations. I mean, I'm not talking, you know, like, I don't know that it's appropriate at this point to try to yank his license or anything. I just think $850 is, and especially if you look at all 3 cases here today. You've got the another case where there's some extenuating circumstances where the hearing officer suggested some leniency, and we can talk about that one when it comes up. And then you've got a third one that's got a couple of violations for not being open, and it's double this fine.
So I would be okay with something if you were talking about maybe doubling the fine,
Right?
okay, just to get his attention, but we already have the long arm of our field reps getting all over him, and trust me, after this, they're gonna be on even more. So he's not gonna get away with anything. So, Mr. Fisher, I'm sorry.
Nobody's getting his attention, and he's not here. And by virtue of that fact, we're all here. He's not. He's
Yeah.
not in this business. He's hurting us in our industry, to tell you the truth, because he's not going by any of the rules. And he's been to the class twice, and 3 times it's not going to get this fellow's attention, and he didn't show up today. Case closed. As far as I'm concerned, he shouldn't be in the industry.
If
That's
all the
just my-
folks, I'm not disagreeing with you, but if all the folks that that sold this many cars were out of business, we wouldn't have enough money to budget the board here. And that's just the truth of it. We have lots of people out there that are onesie twosies in business, but they're paying their license fees and they're doing those things.
And as far as it not showing up, I almost don't like, like if the hearing officer recommended this tiny fine for me and just send me back to class, I might not come and argue about it either. I might think, oh, well, that's what I'm gonna get. That's what happens, so, I might not show up either, so. I'll leave it to somebody in the committee to make a recommendation, or make a motion rather.
I'll make a motion that we raise the penalty to $1,500.
All right, so do we need to, William, we need to talk about, because right now there's a $750 fine for, $750 for 46.2, 1533, and then there's 100 for 46.2, 1575. So do you want to do 750 and 750 then? So the 1575 is for failure to written warning.
Here to a previous warning.
Previous warning. So you want to do, so your motion's to have the 750 for 1533 and 750 for 1575. For a total of 1,500.
And attend the course.
And the inspection and attend the course.
Yes, that's my
Okay.
motion.
So we have a motion for Mr. Sullivan. We have a second from Mr. Mayor.
Question, sir.
Yeah.
So you go inspect them in 30 days, it says, to see if that's what it says here. To get his attention. He says, my sign's still on order for the 4th time. Do we close him down then, or we get him another 90 days to think about getting the sign?
The sign, if he can show us that he's ordered the sign, we see that's actually been done, we won't hold that against him.
But I thought we never even got a copy of his lease. I thought he changed his location like the wind.
Lisa, what do you have on him?
I think the fine might be up. I think Tim said the fine is up now.
Okay. And as far as, I mean, he has a lease now.
I'd
Yes.
close it down.
Yes.
I'm a hard
That's
guy.
what we have to do.
Yeah.
But so he would have to get inspected, fail the inspection, and then it would go back through this process again. That's where we are,
We get a first and a second, right?
right? Is there any other discussion?
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
They-
We have 2
Got
nays.
2 nays,
First, second. Okay.
Mr. Fisher, and Mr. Brett.
All right, so the motion carries. Moving on to tab 2.
American Eagle Motors and Najib Ahmad. On October 13th, 2023, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-1533 and 46.2-1575, number 2. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing also recommended assessing a civil penalty of $250 and a satisfactory inspection within 30 days.
All right, so there's someone here to speak to this, tab. All right, sir, if you want to come on up to the podium and introduce yourself.
My name is Najib Ahmad. I'm the owner operator for American Eagle Motors. I've been in business for 16 years and I like to say good morning to everybody and I appreciate the board providing me opportunity to address this violation assessed against my dealership. I'm here before today to demonstrate how seriously I take these charges in my defense. I would like to take this and say I have a good record for all these years. I have a small dealership and I do not have any walk-in customers. If they do walk in, they call, make appointment. I do not dispute that I have some issues with a doorbell in the past, but that mechanical has been fixed. Also in the past years has been very difficult. I did lose my mother and cancer. I had major accident, car accident. Also, I'm dealing with my father having a dementia, and I'm taking care of him right now. So therefore, I would like the dealer board to make exceptional circumstances on my effort. And even with my long record, and with my explanation situation, I would like to request the dealer board not to sanction to my dealership, not to impose any penalties. That's about it.
Okay, so Mr. Ahmad, one, thank you for showing up. Appreciate that. And for the members of the committee that maybe didn't read through the case, you had one visit back in 2022, which
Correct.
is, it's the board's policy that we give you kind of a gimme. We come by, we stop, you're not there, we send you an email as a warning. Then there was another visit in 2023, and you didn't notify the board. You did explain both in writing and at the informal hearing, the issues that you brought up. Sorry to hear about your mother and the issues you're dealing with, and it looks like from the record that the hearing officer took into account, normally the fee, the civil penalty is $750 for the first, the second offense really. And they reduced that based on the extenuating circumstances and you showing up and explaining all of that, providing the documentation to $250 and just a reinspection. But what you're asking us to do is to eliminate the $250 altogether.
All I'm asking is just to eliminate, having a perfect, I've been an owner of, multi companies for 16 years in the DMV area. So having a ding, I had a good explanation even the first time the inspection, when John Smith was inspecting, I've been in the same building. I own my building for over 20 years. So if they come, the first time the inspector came, I had a car accident. It was a major car accident. And he saw me limping. And that time I was at the hospital. And when you get in an accident, there's no times to email or anything like that. Even though he did mention to modify your hours, at the same time, I did mention to him that my mother's going through cancer. Here's my accident. And, maybe God saved me because of that. So therefore, I'm here in front of the board, just not to have any fines, no dings, because I like to stay on a perfect record. And even in the past, I don't have a walk-in there. It's a warehouse right off of 95. And in the past, I know this person is new. If the doorbell, we have a sign, please call the number, and I have a secretary and they open the door. And unfortunately, that was not done.
Yeah, well, I understand maybe if that's how Mr. Smith had done it as a courtesy to you, that's obviously, it's not the code. That's not how the code's written. And, we just enforce the code.
I understand.
We didn't write the code.
I respect, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, sir. Have you had any, it says here did you have one consumer complaint over the past
No,
16
none,
years? You
zero.
have had no consumer
sir.
complaints?
No, sir.
None at all?
None at
Crystal
all.
clear?
Crystal clear.
If that's the case, I would think driving down to Richmond, meeting with us, coming in here and apologizing for what's happened, telling us the story, I think we cut him some slack, I think him coming down here is a lot more than $250, in his time. So I think we let him go with a warning and we wipe it off his record and let him go. That's just my opinion.
I appreciate it.
This is not like we have a habitual abuser here. He's very humble. He's doing exactly what we tell him to do when we tell him in class, come in, tell us you're sorry, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. So it'd be my vote that we would cut him some slack, tell him to have a nice day, and thanks for being a Virginia dealer operator.
I would agree.
The statement says he has a consumer complaint. I didn't see it in the file, but I don't know. The fact sheet. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what it's about. I mean, I don't know.
he just testified he didn't have a consumer complaint. If he does have 1 to 16 years,
Yeah, if it was a long time ago, I don't care either.
That's what I'm saying.
I just
If
didn't know
it
it
was that
was-
long ago, he doesn't remember, then I think we move on.
I can't really argue with you. I just was
Yeah.
pointing that out. I don't know if it's somebody didn't get a title or whatever it was. Cause it just says that, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, that's my motion.
I'll second.
Oh, hold on. Let's make sure we got the motion right. So, Mr. Mayor, could you just state your motion, please?
My motion would be, is that we make this a warning. Okay, right? Are we able to wipe it off his record, William, or no?
There is no record.
There's no record, so it would be my motion, we give him a warning and tell him to have a nice day.
Do you still want another inspection?
good morning.
No, I don't.
Can I say something?
Sure.
And I'm just speaking from the perspective of the process. The process is not a process where we show up as field rep and ring doorbell. We show up during your hours of operation to inspect you. You posted hours of operation, we come for that purpose. We shouldn't be coming to ring doorbells to see if you're there. You're supposed to be open at that time.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Childress.
Yes.
In today's time,
Mhm.
okay, with all the wacky stuff that's going on, a lot of these folks down in Northern Virginia are locking their doors. And they're not letting anybody in unless they call or they talk first. I don't know where he's at, but it sounds like he's maybe in a.
Right in Fairfax,
Maybe, are you in an
industrial,
section?
it's
So
industrial
some of those
section,
places
which
are
we had many robberies in the past too.
We said earlier, all we do is enforce the code the way the code's written.
I don't think it's a criticism of,
No.
of,
No, I
of
don't.
your person's actions. I mean, I think this is a decision of the board. And,
So-
when Chris's motion's accepted by the chair, I'll second.
But I'm only speaking from the perspective of Pandora's box is now open to everybody's.
Have-
Well, that's why
Have
you have a
fixed your
board.
doorbell, sir?
Right, no,
I even put two ring, the modern one, so if somebody calls, I can see them.
And you're in the warehouse when this happens?
Yes,
All right, so the motion from Chris Mayor is that we just give Mr. Ahmed a warning for the violation. Do we have a second? The Rush has seconded it.
so the violation being 1575 or 1533.
Both.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we're both, okay.
So as far as discussion, is there any discussion? I guess I'll just put this out there is just that, I do appreciate you showing up and I just think the hearing officer already kind of addressed the circumstance based on what we've normally done in the past. But, it's the will of the board, so it's the will of the board and we'll go with that. So all in favor of the motion from Mr. Mayor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
no,
I'm a no too.
Bannister and Wiley,
Might be a tie.
two no's,
Yeah,
Might be three.
three, and Sullivan. Okay.
so the motion carries. So
Does it?
again, the full board is gonna vote on this in not that long. We don't have that many cases. So I would recommend you stick around to come back up in case somebody else that didn't get to ask you a question gets.
Alice, what was the vote?
Nays. Like 5.
Okay.
No.
You wanna do a roll call vote?
Please, please.
Yeah, maybe
All right.
we should.
Let's take a roll call vote on this.
Change your vote.
Andrew,
Nay,
Dan Bannister,
no,
Gardner Britt,
I'll go nay this time.
Alex Payne.
No, it's James, yeah.
Rob Fisher,
Yay.
David Lynn,
Yay.
was it yay?
That was a
Yay.
yay.
Chris Mayor,
Yes.
Mike Malloy,
Yes.
RJ Robinson,
Yes.
Nick Rush,
Yes.
Don Sullivan.
No.
same results. So,
We got 4 nays this time,
you're right. So
so it passed.
the motion passed. You can have a seat.
thank you again, board members, for your opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mo.
Again, I appreciate you.
Sorry
coming
about
in.
your mother.
Life, we all go to God's.
All right. William, we have tab 3.
Yes. Fast Track Auto LLC and Brandon Kim. On October the 13th, 2023, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-1533 and 46.2-1575, number 2. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended a $1,500 civil penalty and a satisfactory inspection within 90 days.
Okay, Mr. Kim, you want to come on up to the podium, introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Brandon Kim. I'm the dealer operator and owner of Fast Track. Thank you for taking the time to meet this morning and to give me an opportunity to speak. I want to be brief and to allow you time to ask questions. And I know some of this was already mentioned in the report by the hearing officer. Some background for what happened these past 3 inspections. First of all, this is my first dealership. I have not been involved in the car sales business before. The first inspection in May happened around the time when my mother had emergency leg surgery, and this was mentioned in the report. And I did submit a temporary closing notice to the board, and it was my fault that I forgot to extend it afterwards when she still had trouble walking. In the summer, I was completely out of the state and was not even made aware of I'm sure I was made aware of it, but was not aware myself of the inspection until I received the email of the fine. And when I found out about it, I immediately called the motor vehicle dealer board and paid that fine. And the last inspection in mid to late August was around the time when I had the renewal for the dealership come up, and I was seriously considering shutting it down because we had these 2 inspections that had cited us for failure to maintain business hours. But I made the decision about a day before that this 3rd inspection happened to renew it and to see if we could make changes to make sure that this didn't happen again. Sadly, that inspection happened and I wasn't there to fully implement those changes. But obviously these aren't excuses, and I don't try and I'm not trying to sort of say that I didn't do anything wrong, because I obviously did. But some of the things that we've done so far is we've brought on an experienced salesperson with over 10 years in the car business to help with our dealership, as well as to hire a counter assistant so that when an inspector does come, that they have someone to show the records and to maintain the business hours. We've also cleaned and renovated the space and put up a new website. And all I would say or ask is that the board decide on whatever they think is fair and just for this situation. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Kim, first of all, thank you for showing up to speak to us. Appreciate that. And again, for the committee, and in case you didn't thoroughly read through it, Mr. Kim kind of went through it here. He's had 3 inspections that he was not open. The first one, well, I guess could it be 3 or 4 at this point? Is it just 3? Just 3. He did pay a fine for one already of $750. And then again, he's given the explanation. It does sound like he's making an effort to try to staff his dealership appropriately. Sounds a little bit like, Mr. Kim, you tried to start a little too thin in terms of staffing.
Yes, I was the only one, and I couldn't handle it myself.
Do we have questions or comments from the committee?
I've got a question. Mr. Kim, thank you for coming today. What type of, it says you have 1 sale here with 8 license plates. Can you explain that to me?
In the past year, we didn't have any, we had very minimal business activity. And I think part of it was just the challenge of trying to start a new dealership and being the only person operating it. Since late August, mid or early September, when we started these changes, we have made at least I would say 10, 15 sales of cars. So I mean, we're trying to continue to operate the business. Obviously, I don't think that's as impressive as a business record as people on this board have, but it's not like we're operating a shell dealership with no sales. I think we are trying.
Is this your primary business or do you have another business you do?
I'm actually a student. This is my primary business.
I thought we saw 8. Okay. So you have 4 tags.
It's four.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
How many tags do you have at your dealer tags?
I think the report said 4.
Okay, so you have 1 for each motorcycle, trailer, RV, and car.
I think that's what the report said.
Anybody else have questions, comments? I mean, I guess for my part, we've got these 3 cases and they all provide their own unique perspective here, but Mr. Kim's relatively new to the business. He's had the violation, he's paid for one. He's got another one, but it does seem like, and the hearing officer discusses, it does seem like he's making the effort to try to straighten it out. Unlike perhaps the first to have. But do we have a motion from the committee?
I have a question.
Sure.
Mr. Kim, you took the dealer operator class, correct? And
I did, and Mr. Mayor was the teacher.
had the test DMV,
Yes, I did.
you passed that, obviously.
I did.
So what did it say about business hours?
Said 20 hours at minimum, and at least 10 of those hours had to be between 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
So you felt like after you had a problem the first time, you didn't address the issue, right?
I tried to visit the store hours during the time, but admittedly, I obviously could not because the second inspection, when I wasn't in the state, they came by and there was nobody to see them.
Yeah, so Donald, he did submit, after the first violation, he did submit temporary closing that was run through the middle of May. And he didn't open back up when that ended and didn't extend it. And then they came to do the inspection a couple weeks after that. He still wasn't even open yet, so. Yeah. So. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or? Good.
You got a motion?
Well,
Anybody else have a motion? I have a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Robinson.
I'm just gonna say we changed it from 90 days to 30 days for the inspection.
well, the- says it-
I mean-
Inspection for the 90 days.
I'm okay either way on that. I was gonna say, I think we cut them a little bit of slack and we charge them $750 and reduce it from the 1,500 is that right now. And if Mr. Robinson says 30 days, we give him inspection within 30 days. I'm good with that.
That's your motion.
That is my motion, sir.
So your motion is to, are you just gonna eliminate the fine for 1575? Is that what you wanna do?
Whatever the best thing to do is there, sir.
So your motion would be a $750 fine for 1533. And an inspection within 30 days.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Rob Fisher, second the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
I gotta get it.
Mr. Greg.
On a roll.
Okay, so that motion carried. Are we done with Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Kim, so again, same information as before. The full board revotes on this in probably half an hour or so, so you might want to stick around for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Kim.
All right, so, Mr. Childress just pointed out to me that we kind of miscounted on tab 2, so the motion actually tied. We accidentally counted Mr. Cody as a yes, even though he's not here. So, Mr. Ahmed, what that means for you is that coming out of committee, technically that motion failed and there's not a motion coming out of committee. So when we go into the full board, it kind of starts over and everybody that's sitting at the table will then vote. We'll have to make, somebody will have to make a new motion at that point. It may be that Mr. Mayor makes the same motion again and then the entire board votes for it. I just wanted you to know kind of what the procedure was, so you didn't leave, so that you're here for that. So, all right. So, is there any new business from the floor? Hearing none, we're going to schedule our next meeting for January 8th, 2024, and the committee's closed. Still me now?
No, licensing.
Oh, license.
It won't go far.
All righty, welcome everybody. We're going to bring the dealer licensing committee to order. Alice, if you would call the roll, please.
Lee Slaughter, Rob Fisher,
Here.
Jim Ballard, Tom Bates, Gardner Britt,
Here.
Trevor Coley,
Here.
Dennis Elmer, David Lynn,
Here.
RJ Robinson.
Here.
Michael Board.
We do not have a quorum, so based upon that, we will go ahead and suspend this particular committee meeting. And we will meet back here on January 8th.
May I make a parliamentary inquiry? Is it within the rules for the chair of the board to temporarily appoint someone to a subcommittee? Or should we look at doing that maybe one day in the future?
Is that in order to have quorum, you mean?
Yes.
I don't know the answer.
I don't,
Chris? Yeah, I think the subcommittee's set. I don't
Yes.
think at the meeting you can just bring in a
I mean, I've been on committees where you've done that.
early, yeah. I mean, it's something I can look into.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
that's
maybe
something
we
you
should put it in the board rules.
Yeah,
That gives the chairman the flexibility to do something like that in the future. I mean, I don't think it matters today. I don't think there's action.
yeah.
So, but
So
it could be something we
For
want to look.
informational purposes, can we do that? If we had,
I will look into it. I think the one thing to remember is the subcommittee is just meeting to present a motion to the full board, but like what happened in number 2, and I think it happened last session.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if there's not a quorum, it just goes right up to the board and the board. It's just was something I think put in to go to kind of move things along so the full board.
It may not be important. I was just,
But I'll look into it. So,
I just thought of it.
because if it is a viable option. maybe.
All right.
yes.
All right, so I'm gonna call the advertising committee meeting to order. Alice, would you please take the roll?
Andrew Wiley,
Here,
Dan Bannister.
Here.
Jeff Ballard, Tom Bates, Michael Board, Trevor Coley,
Here.
Dennis Elmer, David Lynn,
Here.
Jeff Malloy,
Here.
RJ Robinson.
Here.
Nick Rush.
Here.
we have a quorum. All right. So regarding public comment, if there's an item on the agenda that you are supposed to speak about or would like to speak about, you can speak when it comes up on the agenda. Just make sure you let us know. If there's no objections, the September 2023 committee meeting summary is in the book and is approved. For old business, we have no old business on the agenda. Is there any old business from the floor? There's no old business from the floor. Moving on to new business. There's no new business on the agenda. Is there any new business from the floor? Hearing none, I guess I'll just make the comment that the board does send out administration violations to the board and their public records that you can see for that. Most of the advertising stuff's handled administratively, so. With no new business, we're gonna schedule our next meeting for January 8th, 2023, and this committee is closed.
I'd like to call the Transaction Recovery Fund Committee meeting to order. Alice, could you please call the roll?
Chris Mayer,
Here,
Jeff Malloy,
Here.
Jeff Ballard, Dan Bannister.
Here.
Dennis Elmer, Rob Fisher.
Here.
Ron Cody, Nick Rush.
Here.
Maurice Slaughter, Don Sullivan,
Here.
Andrew Wiley.
Here.
Alice, we have a quorum. Okay, under public comments, if there's any public comments, they'll be limited to the topics that are listed on this agenda. I move to approve the September 11th meeting summary unless there's any objections. Is there any old business from the floor? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Under tab number 4. William, do you want me to move forward on that? Okay,
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read it.
go ahead, tab number 4. Okay.
Tamron Jones versus Delta Motors LLC and Austin's Auto Service. On October 30th, 2023, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-15, 27.3 against Austin Auto Service LLC. Based on information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended payment to Tamron Jones in the amount of $13,716.98 from the recovery fund.
Okay, so tab number 4, the dealership has paid $15,000 of the claim already. The judgment, there's additional money to be paid. Their attorney has called and said they're going to pay that. So what we recommend we do, we suspend this until the next meeting. And we'll bring it up at the next meeting. If there's nothing to bring up, it won't be on there to be paid, correct? All right, so that being said, we'll move on. Is there any questions about that at all?
Do you need a motion to table it?
Yes.
I would
Okay.
make that motion.
Mr. Fisher makes a motion, we table it.
I'll second
Second
it.
by Mr. Wiley. All in favor? Any opposed? Yeah, that motion carries.
Wait.
I don't wanna oppose that.
Things are much smoother than your.
January.
All right, so Mr. Childress, thank you for your help on that. We'll move on to tab number 5.
Okay. Christina Campfield versus DMV Auto Finance LLC and Fazula Cavato. On October 30th, 2023, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-15, 27.3 against DMV Auto Finance LLC. Based on information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended payment to Christina Campfield in the amount of $25,000 from the recovery fund.
Okay, that is tab number 5. You've heard, is there anybody here to speak on this case? Any discussion from the committee? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the hearing officer thinks it's appropriate, meets all the criteria. That's what it's here for. So I make a motion, we approve the payment as the hearing officer recommended.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Mr. Fisher seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, no new business from the floor that I've heard. So January 2024 will be our next committee meeting, and at this point here, we'll adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
I think we're gonna go ahead and take a gavel us in, or, okay, we're gonna take a 15-minute recess and then we'll start top of the hour at 10 o'clock with the full board meeting. Thank you.
Got a bunch of interesting questions, but we can take them off. That was interesting. Call the full session of the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board, in a session. Alex, would you mind moving the call, please?
Jeff Ballard, Dan Bannister, Tom Bates, Michael Moore, Gardner Brett.
Here.
Trevor Colley.
Here.
Dennis Elmer, Rob Fisher,
Here.
Ron Purdy, David Lynn,
Here.
Luke Mayor,
Here.
Jeff Godoy,
Here.
R.J. Robinson,
Here.
Nick Rush,
Here.
Maurice Slaughter, Don Sullivan,
Here.
Andrew Wiley,
Here.
Bill Banks.
Here. We have four. I'm going to approve the meeting summary from September 11th unless there are any objections. Right, hearing none, open the floor for any public comment at this time. Seeing none, I'm gonna move to our committee reports. The first committee up is the Dealer Practices Committee, Mr. Wiley. Willie, can you take us through that?
All right, so Mr. Chairman, we had our dealer practice committee meeting this morning at 9 a.m. We approved our summary from the 2023 September 2023 meeting. There's no old business from the floor. Under new business, we had 3 cases that we reviewed and discussed, and I'll let William start with tab 1.
Tab 1, exclusive auto sales, LLC, and Jalali Khalid. Whereas the board has reviewed and considered the facts and evidence in the report of an informal fact-finding conference as prepared by the hearing officer concerning exclusive auto sale and Jalali Khalid for alleged violations of penal code sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1533, 46.2-1534, 46.2-1548, and 46.2-1575, number 2. And whereas based on due consideration, the board believes that the following actions should be taken against exclusive auto sale and Jalali Khalid. 1, assess a civil penalty of $1,500. 2, issue a written warning for code section 1575. 3, exclusive auto sale shall be inspected by motor vehicle dealer board field representative within 30 days. The inspection shall be satisfactory. And 4, Jalali Khalid shall successfully complete the 2-day deal operating course by May 13, 2024. Now, therefore, be resolved that the board mandates that Jalali Khalid is hereby assessed a civil penalty of $1,500 and issued a written warning regarding 46.2-1575, and the exclusive auto sale dealership shall satisfactorily pass an inspection conducted by a motor vehicle dealer board field representative on or before January 13, 2024, and Jalali Khalid shall successfully complete the deal operating course by May 13, 2024. Therefore, be it further resolved by the board that failure to comply with the board's mandates by the required dates will result in the suspension of all licenses and certificates issued by the board until such time the exclusive auto sales dealership that Jalali Khalid successfully complies with the board's mandate. That is your motion?
That is, sir.
All right, open it for discussion. Comments?
This license expires November 3rd.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give them, is he applied for the new one?
I was gonna ask the same question. Does he intend to keep the dealership? And do we wait? Are you thinking, do we wait maybe until he passes all those things before we renew it?
I got.
I don't know what the answers. Yeah.
He didn't show up, so we don't.
Cause it does seem weird, we're gonna renew, now, we can rescind it, but we're gonna renew it in like 2 weeks, and then we're gonna give it 4 months to get the shit together, sorry, stuff together. He still has until the end of December, with the grace period. So if this is his actual license expiring month, November, then he has until the end of December to actually renew it. So we don't know.
They're 2 different issues completely. I think we just let him renew and then we handle this administrative stuff on the other.
Yeah, if he didn't have them, go over.
Let's do the dates right here. I think we just let him renew. Paying us, and then we can, administer these things to him and hopefully he responds well and things come out well.
Or he doesn't renew and our problem solved anyway.
He'll still get it fine. He's gotta write us a check. Yeah, we're not gonna expect the clerk to deal with it.
Yep. And with that said, if he does not renew and if he goes out of this and comes back later, this $1,500 should be handled. We have to pay that individual. That answer your question? Yes, sir. All right. So we should put it to a vote now?
I need a second.
I need a motion. Mr. Fisher. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, William, so we move on to tab 2, and, Chairman, somebody's here for both tab 2 and tab 3. Okay, all right. Tab 2, and tab 2, I'm going to, read the summary. American Eagle Motors and Najib Ahmad. On October 13th, 2023, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Section 46.2-1533 and 46.2-1575, number 2. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended assessing a civil penalty of $250 and satisfactory inspection within 30 days. I read this because the committee ended up in a 5-5 tie. So the board, 4-4 tie, 5-5 tie, 5-5, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Mr. Chairman, the hearing officer's recommendation was to reduce the gentleman's fine from $750 to $250 and have a new inspection in 30 days. Mr. Mayor made a motion to just give the gentleman a warning. And that motion technically didn't carry because of time. So, Mr. Ahmed is here. So, would you like to address the board, Mr.
One more time, I know what, for my benefit, just summarize for us, yeah.
No problem. First of all, thank you again for giving me the opportunity to stand here and express my feedback. I've been a dealer, operator, owner for over 16 years. This is one of my other businesses. I'm an entrepreneur in the DMV area. Unfortunately, life doesn't call on your loved ones. Mother passed away. When you get in a major accident, there's no times to send an email, update, or do anything else. And therefore, I presented myself here to just, from my bottom of the heart, say, yes, the door, we have staff, for security reason, in Fairfax, in the industrial area. We keep the doors locked all the time because of security reasons. We don't have a traffic area and we don't have walk-ins. And if they do call us, and, we show them the card. Nowadays with, internet and 21st century, we do everything online with luxury cars. We don't do walk-ins at all. So when the inspection guy came, he came twice. He said he did send an email, never got the first email, then he came twice. He did see me injured, limping, because I just came out of the hospital. My car was basically total buckled up. And thankfully, I guess God wanted me to, put my mom in the graveyard. So mom passed away with a cancer. That was 6 months ago, which is 2023, I believe. Yeah, we are in 2023. And just asking the board members, being a perfect record, to give me and waive the charges and continue my journey as a good business owner and a good dealership. Thank you.
You said you didn't get the first email. If you corrected the email, probably what the problem.
I checked the spam thing, but of course, that was the week I had the injury and I was in a hospital. So I believe even if they did, when I came back, it was a week later, the inspector came and he said, yeah, he did send an email. And I said, an hour, he goes, okay, then he did inspect me. So the second round in 2023 was my mom's death and I just sent the death certificate, all the proof. So it's not like there was something fine.
Can you receive emails now?
Yeah, I mean, everything is perfect.
You said you checked the dates were similar with the two issues of the accident and the past.
Yeah, I don't think there's any dispute in the record that everything that he's presented is accurate and correct, and he provided documentation for it. And again, the real issue is that the normal procedure is you get one warning, then you get a $750 fine. In this case, they issued the one warning. He attended the hearing. The hearing officer was compelled by his situation and explanation to reduce the fine to $250 That was the recommendation. Chris felt like, he deserved even a better shake than that, and to eliminate the fine altogether. And that's where the
16-year spotless record. I was gonna say, how long does it stay on the record? I think it stays on forever, doesn't it? It stays on forever. And he's worried about that. He brought that up. Like, I've got a spotlight record. Who sees this record that we're worried?
Just us. I mean, essentially, it's gonna be us. And again, it's not, I understand the compelling reason for him to be here to clear his record. At this point, we're really kind of talking about a $250 fine or not, because it's all gonna be documented one way or the other.
I think it's an honor thing for him.
Well, I
think it's an
understand.
important honor thing for him, which is why when he came here and he was willing to, he's doing exactly what we teach him to do. Come in here, tell your side of the story, ask for forgiveness. He's done that. He's shown up, it's $250, and for him, it's an honor issue. And that's why I wanted to basically, being a good dealer for 16 years, I would want to honor him and say, hey, you know what? Thanks for coming. Have a nice day. That's why.
Sorry, my hotel was actually more than $250.
So probably cost him $1,500 to come here today to put on his dog funny show. So that's why I voted.
For me, I think we talked about precedent, how we've done other cases. That's always a concern, but then you look at the next case for shorter time period being open. With this gentleman being in business for 16 years, what compelled me to agree to experience on it. So I think it's, a good record for a long time should compel this board to do, maybe go lower than what was asked. And I'm the consumer representative. I don't sell cars. So I haven't seen where he has put the public in jeopardy with these actions. So that's why I was good, thought Chris's motion was fair.
Can you restate your motion? Yes, sir. My motion, Mr. Commissioner, would be that we give him a verbal warning and that we don't harm his record and put anything like that.
And the verbal warning was for 46.2/1333, which is maintaining hours, and also for 46.2/157592, which is a previous warning about that.
A year previous or whatever it was. And I even went as far as to say, we don't really need to inspect the thing, just like the inspection. He's told me that he's got his doorbell situation taken care of, where they communicate with him from the inside to the outside. And I do know that where he's at, there's been some problems with crimes and businesses, and they're all starting to lock their doors. And, people are coming in on the metro and they're causing problems, so people are locking their doors, and making the access harder to get to. So that is my motion. So, all right, is there a second? All right, all in favor? Let's do. Since it's so close, let's do a roll call though.
Dan Vanderson. Barton Brett,
No.
Trevor Coley,
Yes.
Rob Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Chris Mayor,
Yes.
Jennifer Lloyd,
Yes.
Rodney Robinson.
Yes.
Rick Rush,
Yes.
Don Sullivan,
No.
Andrew Wiley,
No.
Joe Biden.
Yes.
Second time you talk.
9 in favor. No.
So we'll let you off with the warning this time, but it would be great if you come back in a year. I think the leniency may have worn itself out.
No, I do appreciate it. I was talking, I'd like to come back and be part of the board in the future.
You come back with all credibility, sir.
Yeah.
Please don't.
I thank everybody, thank the board, I do appreciate it. God bless them. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Wiley, Catherine.
Yes. Wait,
William.
Fast Track Auto LLC and Brandon Hill. Whereas the board is reviewing and considering the facts and evidence and the report of a formal fact-finding conference that's prepared by the hearing officer concerning Fast Track Auto and Brandon Kim for alleged violations of Virginia Code Section 46.2-1533 and 46.2-1575, number 2. And whereas based on due consideration, the board believes that the following actions should be taken against Fast Track Auto and Brandon Kim. 1, assess a civil penalty of $750 for 46.2-1533. 2, Fast Track Auto shall be inspected by Motor Vehicle Dealer Board field representative within 30 days, and that inspection shall be satisfactory. Now therefore be it resolved that the board mandates that Brandon Kim hereby be assessed a civil penalty of $750 and issued and the Fast Track Auto dealership shall satisfactorily pass an inspection conducted by a Motor Vehicle Dealer Board field representative on or before January 13, 2024. Therefore, be it further resolved by the board that failure to comply with the board's mandates by the required dates result in suspension of all licenses and certificates issued by the board until such time the Fast Track Auto dealership and Brandon Kim successfully complies with the board's mandate.
Thank you. That is the report.
That's our recommendation.
Mr. Kim, is there anything else you'd like to add for the record?
I know your time is valuable, my life, so when I look at the running the past year, as a student, and then some of the operating things, I would agree that we'll see that shape. Late August, when I brought on some people who were at Medic now and help out with business and very much better to them.
Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. So was there a motion then on the table? There was.
Well, that is a.
Okay, that was a motion. Or a motion.
It's a motion.
Okay. So
A motion.
that's what, okay, great. So is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Ms. Mayor, second, and then Alice. All those in favor? Any opposed? So, hanging out with Mr. Britt. Well, anything you want to put on the record, Sullivan, with your neighbor?
I just think it's disappointing that, we take the dealer operator class. Spending time doing business, I have to be accountable every day for what I have to spend to make my dealership be compliant. It's a lot of money, and for not to be open on time, for not to buy your business hours, to me, it's just totally.
Understood. I do see a young entrepreneur here trying to figure out, how to run a business well. So I think he, came up here to talk to us and these things. So, but
And, he's going to school. Yeah, so I'm looking ready. He's not bad.
he's getting better all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that on the record. With that, is there anything else from the dealer practices committee?
Nope, there was no, new business from the floor. We scheduled our next meeting for January 8th, 2023, and then, meeting was adjourned. 2024. We're not going back.
Going back in time?
Yeah,
All right.
2024.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley. Mr. Fisher, anything from the license?
No, we had 0 on our agenda today. We did not have a quorum, so we will be meeting on January 8th.
For the next position.
Tell you, quick and easy.
Yeah.
Just like I like it.
Mr. Wiley, back, you advertising today.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we called the meeting to order. We had a quorum. We approved the meeting summary from September 2023. There was no old business from the floor. There was no new business from the floor, and we scheduled our next meeting for January 8th, 2024. Although I just point out, this does say 2024. And the committee was.
Now over to the transaction recovery fund committee, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Commissioner, we met this morning. We had 2 tabs to discuss this morning. We didn't have any public comment
We approved our September 11th meeting summary. There was no old business from the floor. And under new business, William, tab 4, if you want to.
Yes, tab 4, I'll go ahead and read it, but I think this will, I'll read first.
Yes, sir.
Cameron Jones versus Delta Motors LLC and Austin's Auto Service and Cal Brandenburg. And Cal Brandenburg owns both dealerships. Whereas pursuant to section 46.2-1527.1 of the Code of Virginia, which is known as the Motor Vehicle Transaction Recovery Fund, the board has reviewed and considered claims for payment from the fund and recommendations of the hearing officer on the claim. And whereas based on due consideration and recommendation of the hearing officer, the board approved and acknowledged that Cameron Jones' claim should be payable from the fund. And therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves and reaffirms the payment in the amount of $13,716.98 to Cameron James from the fund. However, we have gotten word late over the weekend that the client, Ms. Cameron Jones, I guess her attorney is working with the dealership of the owner, Mr. Brandenburg. And he has made payments so far of $15,000 toward his overall, I guess, judgment of $29,000 plus. And she's confident that he's gonna make the final portion of it relatively soon. So in the committee meeting, this was tabled to the next meeting to allow him to pay the rest of it.
All right, so that's a motion from committee. Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Tab 5.
Tab 5. Christina Campfield versus DMV Auto Finance LLC and Fazzulo Tuvato. Whereas pursuant to section 46.2-1527.1 of the Code of Virginia, which is known as the Motor Vehicle Transaction Recovery Fund, the board has reviewed and considered claims of payment from the fund and the recommendation of the hearing officer on the claims. And whereas based on due consideration and recommendation of the hearing officer, the board approved and acknowledges that Christina Campfield's claim should be payable from the fund. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves and reaffirms the payment in the amount of $25,000 to Christina Campfield from the fund.
Is there a second for that motion? I'll go with Mr. Coley today. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And I think with that, Mr. Mayor, anything else for the transaction recovery?
That concluded our meeting, Mr. Commissioner, and our next meeting will be January 2024.
Thank you very much. Now, I believe we have some old business, William, for the overall board. Do you want to run through that for us?
Yes, the first thing is the Recovery Fund Committee meeting. One of the last meetings, Chairman, you appointed the Recovery Fund to meet to discuss a couple of items. I believe Mr. Bates was the party that brought it up, on the last board meeting. He had an interest in looking into, I guess, to increase the Recovery Fund from its $25,000 maximum it sits now. One of the reasons he said was because cars cost a lot more now since it's written. Last meeting, I had come back to the board and given the board my staff opinion that the recovery fund now $25,000 is fine where it was. Because the average payout that we had over the years has been about $16,000. But I also recommended that we should look at the code section dealing with breach of extended service contract, because under the bonding portion of it, that's something that's compensable at that time, but not under the recovery fund portion of it. And your direction then to me was to meet and bring back recommendations to the board. Now, we have not met yet, and this is partly my fault for not talking to you before this took place. But whenever we have a meeting of 3 or more board members, that constitutes a public meeting. And therefore, let's go through the process of how the public meeting works, which means that we're announcement, everything, and everything planned to pass. So with that said, I'm saying to the board, committee members especially, if we're going to do this, because we're located all over the state in different places, then we either have to meet before the board meeting or after the board meeting. Unless you guys will come in to Richmond sometime in between to have these meetings. And this is something I think is gonna take several minutes to, it can't be virtual. We don't do virtual.
It can't be virtual unless the board develops a policy for having a virtual. And it can't be all virtual. There's rules that are that dictate how many you can have a year and things of that nature. So right now, it wouldn't be something that could be virtual.
And for your history, sir, we had virtual board meetings during the pandemic, but those government had to stand on. Otherwise.
Is there another way can your office take it offline and make recommendations? What I'm reacting to is if it has to happen around a board meeting, it's gonna take several meetings. We're talking about coming up with the answer to this in June or next year,
Well,
which seems a little far.
it does, but either way, it's gonna be legislation. Like, if we increase it or make any change, it's gonna be legislation either way. It's not gonna make it for this period of time.
Yeah.
But they'll make it for the next year. I don't know, I'm anticipating the worst thing. We might get it resolved in another 2 years. I don't.
If you're looking at legislation, then it'll have to be 25 sessions.
Yes, exactly. It's gonna be,
You actually got the whole year to
exactly.
think it out. Probably want to have something by November.
And I think we can have something. I mean, I think the worst case would be 2 meetings, the worst, you have like July, work. But yeah, I don't know.
Are folks comfortable with letting this all drop to June, July? We'll have to do before or after worst case like. Yeah, so are we specifically talking about breach of warranty here and including that in the transaction recovery fund claim?
It's included under the bond portion.
Okay.
So if you have a bond issue dealing with breach of warranty, it's covered there. It's not covered under the recovery fund.
Do we really have a big problem?
We have a lot of those, you know, that are denied. Mike, you want to speak up inside?
Well, there's more breach of contract, right? Breach of contract, not covered under the bond. I don't know why they left it out of the language for the bond, but I mean, for their bond, but like the bond, and it's not warranty. Or, you know, dealer fails to pay for it or cancels it or whatever, and it's unaware. They'll pay the claim for it, but the way the language is for the bond, it just doesn't. It's just very bond. I mean, one second, dumb it down for me. I don't understand.
I'm trying to get to there. Give me 1 second, I'll get there. So I understand on layman's terms, okay? A consumer buys a car, buys a warranty. They go to make a claim on their warranty and there is no warranty. So like, what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna go complain. They call you up. Hey, I got a complaint. This dealer didn't pay me or didn't honor my warranty. So then we're like, hey, sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. Have a nice day. Versus go to the transaction recovery fund. So for them to get the transaction recovery fund to pay that claim, they're gonna have to go get an attorney. And that attorney's gonna have to represent them in the court of law, and they're gonna have to get a judgment against that dealer and come back to us. The cost of the judgment, the attorney and all that stuff alone is gonna be more than what the value of the warranty is. So I think we're chasing the tail on this thing.
Well, we had
That was the case.
we had a case last meeting and the meeting before, and it was in addition, it was she had a car that was bad and there was an issue with, and she had the service contract that was bad and had an issue with, and we weren't able to pay the service contract part of that claim.
I guess what I'm thinking is I hate to have the tail wag the dog, you know, we get one case come up and all of a sudden we're gonna spend 2 meetings and all this stuff. I'm not trying to,
Well, we have this a lot more frequently.
but I understand that if it was not involved with a regular case, which I haven't seen a bunch of those in all the time I've been here where we got, you know, we can't get paid on the warranty. Okay,
Well, because they don't come to the board.
That's what I'm trying to get to. They don't come to the board, because we can't.
We don't have any jurisdiction over it.
now back to the value of a warranty and what that's gonna cost to go correct in court with an attorney versus what the claim's gonna be paid the attorney.
Well,
The
But
attorney would
the
have to be
recovery fund specifically talks about items related to the purchase of the sale, but then kind of exclude this. I guess we're talking about trying to say, hey, like, if you buy this and gap protection and a service contract, like, trying to make the language such that when somebody files a claim, they can actually get everything that they're
So
entitled.
if that's our goal, and that's what I'm going to, if that's our goal is to people that are making claims against the transaction recovery fund because they've been defrauded by a dealer and it's, you know, on the car, whatever it is, you just want to be able to add more stuff to it, what you're saying.
Well, I think you need to add the stuff that's appropriate to it, based on the language, because again, the language is misleading. Part says one thing, and part says the other.
All right, so it sounds like there's enough discussion still to be had. What about, when a customer buys a warranty? And what's his $2,000? Car breaks. The warranty company turns the claim down. And the customer says, dealer told me it covered everything. That guy gonna be able to come to us and get their money back? Because he says the warranty's not as represented, or that covers everything? That would be a little box.
I guess we'd have to make sure the language.
Because I mean, if the dealer just sold the warranty, maybe then it's gonna say, he said, she said.
Yeah, the court would have to determine if it's fraud.
I know, and that's just, that's
Yeah,
hard to cover it against the other.
that's probably why they left it out.
Yeah. I think we also need to look at the economic impact. I don't understand the law. So I can. Yeah, well, we'd have to look at the language of it, it sounds like, to make it tightly worded, so it's not open to broad interpretation, and then the economic impact of it on the recovery fund. How many of these are we expected to get? And put a max cap on that, that's separate from the total, set 25,000, or is it included as part of that?
Well, working with these laptops, like these people that get screwed over on warranty, they don't have the term. And then they try to go forth themselves, and they go in there and they check the breach of contract box. And that automatic, I mean, there's a difference between fraud and breach of contract, and fraud is a lot harder to prove. So a lot of times, people that don't want to hire an attorney, these are the ones that are denying, because the language doesn't match with bond language. And I think that would be the thing, just the bond language that says when it recovers, it matches with the recovery bond.
Yeah, and that was the exact case we had last week, of fraud versus breach, and I guess we just, like I said, it's enough here that we have to dig into the financial aspect of it, the legal aspect, so if we just don't let it drop again, and then we get it, I would say we can try to figure it out, so that we do it before or after January again, and then again, and again, and again. All right, so I need to do a formal motion. All right.
So what I'll do is the committee, I will send you an email, giving you a preference for the before the meeting and after. the meeting. And what we can also do is, if we do meet, we can sample our what do, that way people plan their day and know what they're doing. I just want you to be aware of the non-action, because we did a formula of the plan. And I know the chairman probably might.
On my vacation.
Well, definitely, yeah. Okay, so the next.
Dealer portal.
They do a quarter, I'm pretty sure you guys are probably tired of hearing me get the same update on the quarter, but I want to give you a little bit more information. And hopefully I can state it to a point where the chairman is not impacted on that, clarified. When we signed the contract with System Automation to do this portal for us, we did it with the understanding that we don't do mainframe will no longer be in existence. So we did a lot of work preparing for the future without DMV mainframe. And as you pretty much well know now, Commissioner Lackey, DMV is now on board. And one of the things that's happened since he's been here is that the vendor building that new system, they fired him. So therefore, the DMV mainframe is going to be around a little while longer. How long, I don't know, a couple of years. With that said, that completely changed the whole focus around portal in terms of connectivity, interface, and things of that nature. We must be able to interact with the DMV mainframe. And so right now, this IT team on the vehicle side, our IT resource, and the System Automation Group are working feverishly as best they can to address all of the issues to make sure that the downloads, the data transfer, and the file information is consistent and flowing both ways. So this is what we're working on now. And hopefully in the next, I'm hoping sometime in the next month, that we will resolve all of those tedious things and get back to the business of pension system. There's not much to be done in the system in terms of building the system, but we have not done UAT testing yet. We have several rounds of UAT testing to UAT test, it's just testing something that's your
Any old business from before? All right, I guess the only thing I'll add, what Ann and Gonzalo said is that there are some studies, just for the board's awareness, there are studies related to dealers that are being completed as we speak. Our office here, DNB's completed our assessment of those. One is dealing with out-of-state dealers and titles that you can send to residents of Virginia. And the other one is dealing with dealer manufacturer data and the process for getting approval to set up sales. So those will be coming through. Right now, I can't comment on them, but they're with the government policy office, and as they finish up there, they'll move over. We probably record on things. All right, new business. Barbara.
Good morning. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Barbara Arkwright. I am Director of Field Investigations for the Law Enforcement Section here at the department. We have partnered with Motor Vehicle Dealer Board, and we are working towards part of our transformation initiative was to actually come to you as dealers and assist you with fraud that may be happening or fraud that you're seeing. And what that is proposed to look like is virtual meetings. So with the dealer board's cooperation, they're going to help us actually put out kind of training outreach sessions to dealers. Nothing mandatory, totally open to anyone who wants to come or participate. And what we want to do today is come to you and ask you what topics you think would be good for those kinds of meetings. We're planning our first meeting for December 7th to take one off before the end of the year. And then we're planning for one each quarter next year. So this will give you all an opportunity to have some feedback. So I wanted to kind of talk that out to the board. If you have any suggestions now, I'm happy to take them. If you want to take that back and think about it, feel free to do that as well. You're welcome to email Ann Majors, or I'm sure Lisa would take the emails as well, or you can certainly email myself. So with that, any topics off the top of your head that you would like to see? Yeah.
Yeah, before the first one, we talked
That's
about-
it.
I'm hearing from multiple dealers across our state right now, identity theft is absolutely an all-time high, so identifying identity theft is a great topic. Identifying or protecting their, people are stealing cars. They're stealing cars, they're letting down to Baltimore, they're picking them off, they're shipping them over across the country, and they're cutting up a little piece of stolen car.
Absolutely.
And these dealers are taking short, so we need to figure out a way to help. At least educate our dealers. So it's how they're closing the keys.
You can start cars with this thing.
I know. You take the electric car, you put the key in. Well, they're test driving your car, even the real key, you can take it back, come back that night, yeah. Some of them do that, and some of them we have the keys to, the real key. I know those might be.
We're also seeing issues with odometers as well, the odometer rollback. Shockingly,
That's still
again,
alive.
well, yeah.
Are they?
It's actually still alive and well, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, not about topics necessarily, but at the VA, spoke the idea, we'd like to distribute the information to our members as well, as a way to reach out to dealers, and we'd also appreciate the opportunity to take some calls as well.
Absolutely.
These nonprofit organizations are advertising, we'll pick up your car with no title, things like that. There's something that is very bothersome about that. How can they pick up a car and take it somewhere with no title? And they're advertising it on radio. Yeah, we don't know what your title, we'll come get it. Something's very wrong with that.
That's kind of like the signs you see driving down the road, that said, we'll buy your car with no title.
Yeah, what's that?
Those are the things
Or the
happening.
one we think on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
No title car.
The whole website with 46,000
Yes.
members. No title cards for them.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, they're in Georgia, so I have no jurisdiction with them, so we did pass it along to our counterparts.
Another thing I want to bring to it, so I'm sure you already know about this. We've got vehicles that have liens on them that are going to scrap yards. And people are rolling in the scrap yard, scrapping the car, get paid for them, and nobody's calling us about our liens. And that's something that needs to go on top of it.
Is that going to be the NFL process? I think the chemical storage process?
No, it's not.
It's just going scrap.
Somebody produced
And
an
they're just
idea
going-
scrapyard saying, yeah, it's my car, and I don't know whether they produce a bill of sale or they don't. I said, reading this one, not the one, but I think you might have taken it. You know, my dealer lost the car completely, and it was a 13 to sign off on it. And they scrapped the car in the scrapyard with an idea, wasn't the owner of the car, and he's on the empty record. And got paid, he got a check for $900, they're checking his ID in a picture. They don't know who he is, you know, and the dealer lost out on the lien. I think we need to protect our own holders better.
Yes, ma'am. Barbara, Police Seymour, Deputy Director of Vehicle Services for DMV. Something to consider for that particular scenario. What brings to mind is the DVR system. So depending on how the information is being reported, we just need to check against the information coming in and whatever validations are within that process. So that way, if there's a catch that needs to be, or another system check that needs to be run while we're having some initiatives with DVR right now, might be a good time. So I'd just like to add that. That's where, that is your part of that breakdown. That is the scrapyard is not using the system. That's what.
Does everyone have your email? If they want to do that?
I would happy to give it to you. It's Barbara, BARBARA dot Hartford, ARKWRIDC at DMV dot Virginia spelled out, dot COV for government. As long as you can find me anytime.
Exactly. Lose it or forget it, stick with him up.
Thank you all very much. I look forward to it.
Appreciate that. Is there any new business before?
Yeah, I do. I have a request. I had a salesperson that spoke very broken English and they wanted to take the salesperson test and there's no translation. So I had to send somebody over and it took a couple hours to translate, line by line. So I don't know if there's ability for us to have multiple languages, at least in Spanish, but that's the number one second language in America.
So can we comment on that? I mean, I too have Latino customers and Latino speaking people. Do we not require them to speak English to sell cars? Because if they're gonna speak just Spanish, and they get an American customer who speaks English, what's gonna happen?
I have people that come in that speak 100% Spanish, that we have a Spanish contract. We have a Spanish finance person that almost nothing is done in English. So I don't know what your experience is, but I mean, I think it's gonna be something that in the near future, we're really gonna have to deal with that. I mean, their primary language is English, but there are many people in the United States and in this area and up Northern Virginia that, their primary language is Spanish. I think that we need to be able to accommodate them. And if I have somebody who comes in that their primary language is English or Spanish, and we just sign them on an English contract, there's a problem with that. So almost every lender that I have has a Hispanic contract.
Get enough customers that can have a full-time Spanish speaking sales person.
Which I do.
Exactly. Up in Northern Virginia, Pashtun, we see that on the offices quite a bit, Farsi. People coming, as their first generation immigrants, their kids can speak English fluently, they don't, they never will. Yeah.
Mr. Masters, so thank you for bringing it up. This body considered this type of conversation about reality. And at the time, the body made a statement, as it's been said, that you must be able to speak English in order to at some point go target down the road. In the meantime, if the board wants to do this, we have to pay give the vendor to translate the salesperson's test to the appropriate language. There are many languages out there, and there's a fee that we would have to pay based off of the language. Some languages are more expensive to translate than others, but it's something that the body wants to be done. That's a matter of the board saying, yes, we want to do this, but then it's back to the conversation of the paper. Because the field inspector, we can't read something. So at some point, when a salesperson may be fine for that purpose, at some point, the paperwork that we look at either has to be English where we can read it or understand it, or we may need to keep that there and have people feel so the translation to a language other than English is doable. You just take the board saying, do it, and we'll get that. I think about Spanish is one of the ones that can be like the Farsi, parts of them as well. So it depends on what the board wants to do. But a year and a half ago, the competition came up with what now because the way to go.
And I was one of the people that said that I should leave it the way that was. Right. But now I'm having a recurrent issue as more Hispanic customers are coming into my showroom and salespeople to be able to communicate with them and finance people that I think that there's eventually going to be a need, whether it's today, I don't know, but there's eventually going to be a need.
So I have 3.5 years of data to give you from the dealer operator class. And I'm telling you, we don't have to. Okay, if folks come through the class, they're second generation that are coming through the class, and they're getting their dealer operator's license, and we're not sitting around there like speaking Spanish and I'm speaking English. Okay, so it's not an issue that I'm aware of. It may be an issue you're dealing with your dealership, but we're back to the dog.
Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what's an old license, not the.
Yeah, I think you're really opening up yourself for a real problem if you start hiring people that can't speak English. It's one thing to deal with people that come in that don't speak English. But I mean, how do you train somebody that doesn't understand what you're saying?
because we have somebody that speaks English, a manager that speaks Spanish and English. So, I mean, that's everybody runs their business, you know, the way that they want to, but if you have a Hispanic customer come in and you can't speak Spanish or they can't speak English, there's gonna be an issue. And you can, you're setting yourself up for lawsuits if you're having somebody sign a English contract and they don't understand what they're saying. So, I mean, that's why we try to translate, we have Hispanic, Spanish contracts so we can, legally do business with these people.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, sure, go ahead and hire people that speak English and Spanish to deal with the customer that doesn't speak English. But I would be reluctant to hire somebody that doesn't understand English to work for me. Because you have no idea what they're doing and they don't understand what you're saying to them. We have guidelines and procedures. So your rules, you're gonna have to rely on somebody that works for you that speaks Spanish to teach the guy who works for you now that doesn't speak English. I just think that's a real risky,
Okay, we just say, well, I'm not hiring you because you speak Spanish.
Or we're saying, hey, you know what, they offer a ESL class down the local church on the street. Go get some ESL class and learn how to speak English. I think Jeff brings up a great point. The liability for you to have this whole separate thing going on, you don't understand as a dealer operator, it's kind of a dangerous situation.
Well, I think it's dangerous not being able to communicate with the customers that come in that speak Spanish. So, and if you guys, I mean, most of you watch the news, there have a lot of people come up that are immigrants that are speaking Spanish that we can't communicate with, and we won't be able to, from your guys' standpoint, we won't be able to sell a car because we can't communicate with them. It may be because where we are, it's not that big of an issue, but you go further south and Texas and stuff like that, it's a huge problem. So they are all dealing with that. We're just behind it because we're not on the border. So this is not something that this is something that's going to come our way. You know, sooner or later, we're going to have a majority of the people in the United States are going to be speaking English. It's just that's where our community is going. Spanish. I'm sorry, Spanish.
well, we have several salespeople that speak Spanish, but they also speak English.
I was on Jeff's Live yesterday and there's 2 Latinos that speak in Spanish and there's multiple people that speak English. And you've got everything covered at that point that I'm not saying you don't have a valid point, Nick, please. I'm just saying that I don't know that we have a big enough problem. We need to redo all the work and testing and stuff.
Are you putting Spanish buyer's guides on all of your cars too? Plus English guide? My thing is, we thought about that. You wouldn't be able to test drive a car because you couldn't see out of it, because I got one in Spanish, one in English, and how about Farsi, because that's big in my area.
No, it's a little different when you're talking about a bank contract as is a buyer's guide. So
Right,
it's a little
but I'm
different.
saying you plaster them up one car and now we can't. Right,
Under federal guidelines, you sell a car to somebody who's Spanish only, they don't have all this contract requirements. But the buyer's guide is one, they say, hey, you must provide a buyer's guide in English and in Spanish at the time of sale. I don't know how to ever do it.
Yeah,
I
you're
haven't seen it.
advertising.
What's that?
You're advertising that.
Yeah.
But all we're talking about here is changing the salesman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And translating.
And so just like this for your people that speak both languages, if their primary language is Spanish, it's going to be much easier for them to take a salesperson's license test in Spanish than it is English. So I mean, that's what it is. So,
That's the other thing, you can speak a little English, but you might still have a hard time, I don't know what you think sales does. You might still have a hard time taking the test.
that's correct, and that's the issue that I had with 2 of my salesmen.
I mean, the test is multiple choice, it's like, it's a junior, senior.
I think it's studied for it.
So your driver's license test in Spanish, but a salesperson's license is not in Spanish. That's just saying. And a year and a half ago, I was right there. I said, I don't think that we need it, but you know, just from my personal experience, and everybody may not experience it, and that's why we probably have the different opinions, because they haven't experienced it in their dealership.
I'm just, because I think the question, and I think Mr. Moore just stated it, which was, do we want to translate, and I don't think it's 147 languages. I think the question is, what do you want to translate the salesperson's text into Spanish, that be taken in that language? The rest of the questions around risk risk and I really good and interesting ones to date, but I think some of that's beyond the board purview. If you wanna hire somebody you can't speak with and interact with, you do have to buy the manager, but I mean, that's his business practice. As long as nothing is violated in the rules, and the minute they start to violate rules, then we come in and say, listen, your root cause might be you have a bunch of people that you can't communicate with. But I think the question before the board is just, we want to translate that one test into Spanish. I don't think anybody else is advocating for any other languages, so I wouldn't go that far yet. And maybe we need to look at data on that, but,
And how would you even know what the data is?
what I was gonna do is I was gonna ask the PATA and EIA if they could ask their members, it's just a product. Is there a need for it? You brought it to our table. I guess I'd probably go ask them to pull their members and say, is this a challenge we just can help with the answer? Yes, I think we're obligated to look at training with the test in Spanish.
Should we ask for other states? Right.
And also go
About,
over
what other states know about. Well,
it probably depends on the population.
but our population is changing. I mean, it's not.
Florida doesn't even require a salesperson to test the cell phone. No, at all.
They don't even in Spanish.
The licensing fees, the fee, budget every year.
As I said earlier, though, will the body, if that's something that the body will pay up, then we can get,
I mean, I'm open to that, get the feedback from the dealer body and see if there's any, maybe I'm the only store in Virginia that sees it as a,
Right. And just because you happen to be here voicing that, we want to make sure. I mean, is that something, Ann and all you guys think we could bring back to your members and fast time?
Yes, certainly.
Is that open the door for all the other languages too?
I don't think so. I think we do one thing at a time. If there's not a demand for, like Swahili, we're not gonna translate it.
No, there's
ways it's gonna be done.
There's ways people deal with it when he does inspection, the field inspection. You go out to a used car dealer, they'll ask two guys speaking Spanish, he says, let me see your record. And I would imagine that probably happens, I can't imagine. I don't know. But I don't want to spend money.
Let's first get the feedback. Let's table it until.
Congress and no. Well.
No. And let's discuss it again and go.
Yeah, no.
January after we get some feedback. Yeah.
I mean, if I have to send somebody to translate for them.
I think it also could be the cost of translating that and that's into Spanish. That's too much. How much? How many check? That's ridiculous. How many keep in mind with that test?
Keep in mind, that includes all updates and changes.
That test has multiple questions that do not have a right answer. And then there's also ones that you have to pick the wrong answer to get it right. So before we go in there and start translating, we need to fix the test first.
Oh, I was gonna say, what kind of a test is it? It's questions that don't have a right answer.
That's been going on now, sir, for years. And when we bring it up, it kind of just falls.
So we have to separate, we would have to separate that from translate. If it's 5,000 to fix the broken.
Thanks for bringing that one.
Train my dealers. Yeah, we might have a big question. All right, it's there. All right, we're gonna table that. We're gonna get some feedback from our colleagues. We're gonna find out if the price is really the price. I guess now we're gonna see how many questions are.
That's probably a bigger issue there.
That seems like a bigger issue. All right, any other new business from the floor?
I just wanna add to Gerald, not to, give any extra work to CSMA, but if there's any data behind when a customer comes in, do we capture or translator that when they come into?
Oh, yeah, we capture all of that.
So that might be something we're looking into, the feedback from the association,
We're-
just to check it too.
Yeah, we're probably, this is a bit anecdotal, but in my experience, they're probably 50% Spanish speaking. We're having to hire some Spanish speaking frontline staff because you can't explain a compliance issue through the translate. We actually piloted a company, came in weeks ago to try to do this fast translator. Too much colloquialism,
too much going on, you got plexiglass in between, like, we're gonna have to hire Spanish people from like people who can't communicate with customers and still in our operation.
Would you say that that's pretty significant? Something like that.
But now, now, that's not Stanton, Martinsville, you know, but it is probably Richmond, Northern Virginia, Roanoke. Yes, we can choose not to do it, but you turn a 5-minute transaction into a 15 or 20-minute transaction and multiple visits back to our service centers that don't understand what the hell we're talking about. So, yeah, about 15 minutes. But we get the hard numbers.
I'm a proponent. I believe if you come to the United States, you should learn English and, you know, that should be your primary language. So, but that's not where our society and our communities are going, so.
All right, our next meeting is scheduled for January 8th, 2024. We have any executive director report decisions?
Yes, we do. Not decisions, but things to say. I won't hold you guys up, so like I have here. So it's possible. So the first item on the list deals with games of skill, as given to us by Mr. Rush over a year ago. And all this is that he's been following is that these are the games that are located in a lot of the dealerships and some of the convenience stores throughout the state. If you've been following this, there's a recent state Supreme Court ruling that makes these games illegal. However, there's an upcoming court case next month, to hear the case itself. Some localities right now are going through the process of having these businesses remove these machines from their facility, and some aren't. I just want you to be aware, and also the Attorney General has asked that enforcement actually be, delayed until after the hearing, which will be December. Am I correct there? Did I say that right?
Well, they haven't asked it.
I thought he was saying that.
Not through our office, essentially, but what it is, the localities are each dealing with it.
Right.
As this comes up in the locality, because the law. What are they, like, online poker? Is it like gaming machines? And slot machines in the dealer.
And then I think it's good. But I just want to let the board members know that now, when we talked about this in the board meeting earlier in the year, the direction from the board was very clear. At that time, as long as the machinery did not impede on the 250 square feet that's required, there wasn't an issue. So we have taken that and ran with it. But also, I want you to know that we're going to wait to after the hearing and work the locality. In order for you to have a license because in the first place, you must meet the local zoning requirement. So this is the zoning issue. The zoning will tell them when to remove these machines. And the zoning tells us that they've told the dealership to remove the machines 2 months ago and haven't done it, and we will take the appropriate action. So we'll work with it. It's gonna be different depending on where you're located with the zoning requirement. So make sure the board that you're aware of that, that you're okay with that. Okay, the next item is still the zoning official. To my knowledge, and I wasn't here when the board started back in 1995, 1996, but to my knowledge, the staff at the board has not had a lot of interaction with various zoning officials. This year, starting in April, we have met with probably about 85 different localities in regional type meetings to talk about zoning issues and the dealer board's process and how they intertwine with one another, which has been a great experience so far. We met with the ones here in the Richmond area, Prince William County area, Williamsburg, Norfolk, Williamsburg, Tidewater area, and a little bit in the northern area. We met with 4 different regions so far, representing about 85 different localities. The meetings have been very productive and very interesting to, hear what they're dealing with from a zoning perspective. What we did learn more than anything is that this process also requires probably DMV to be more involved or to be involved with it. Chairman Michael. We've been talking to Bob recently about it. But what the localities are experiencing is they're experiencing a lot of makeshift, as they say, dealership operating out of residential locations. Now, these dealerships are not licensed, so they can up off our preview. But they're saying that there's a lot of sales activity taking place in people's homes, in the driveway. Or they might have 15, 20 cars in the driveway. And so we're trying to educate them in terms of what to look for, in terms of, if it's a licensed dealer, you might see temp tags, things like that. They have a lot of great questions, but the majority of the questions they had dealt with DOT related. So they're having a conference, a statewide conference in December in Charlottesville. And I asked them to let us know, and then we will work with DOT to see if we can be there as well to address and answer their questions. And I think that's something that's a win-win for us and for them, because they really don't know who to turn to or what they can do based on whatever all about. But the primary reason we will meet with them is let them know that as zoning officials, if they do not approve the zoning document for the dealership, the dealership has to pay for it, it doesn't happen. And that's what we want that should be understood. They thought there was more to it than just that. They didn't realize that some of them knew they had that type of authority or that they had that much clout. We also want to make sure they understood that if once zoned, if they have a change, such as a duplication issue or whatever it may be going on, to notify the dealership, give them appropriate time to adapt to the changes that they're asking for. If they're not doing so, to let us know so that we can talk to them. But the bottom line, again, goes down, is that if the dealership's not complying with zoning requirements, we can't license them. We have to take a license. So I just want you to be aware of the fact that we're talking to the zoning officials. Maybe hearing the things you've heard of before, because we're talking to them and they're bringing things back to us. And in the long run, I see the dealer board staff, DOT, law enforcement, and DOT, Vehicle Service Administration, working with the people who I guess hopefully educate people out there who are what they should be doing, all the dirt flowing going on, and we can stop some of that. I did hear from the last week I spoke to in Prince William County that they have a lot of people that think that are taking vehicles from their residence and taking them to the port and exporting across the water. So that's going on. So we just need to, I guess, just be active in this process and work with help people and keep the system. At least talk to the right people.
I'm sorry, but in Prince William County, it's only pretty tough there. How do they get a deal with place like their house?
Well, they don't. What they're saying is, when they go to Prince William County, that's what they gave me was they went to their home and it was about 18 cars in the driveway in the backyard. And when they went to the residence and asked about the vehicles, they were saying these are our vehicles. They come back a week later, a whole different set of cars. The cars there we pulled home. And so they thought it was something doable, or something that they thought we licensed them to operate out of the home. But no one else.
How about in other counties? Is it a problem that?
It's mostly a problem in the urban areas, especially around Fort area. We heard the same thing from some places here in Richmond. Yeah, we had a lady up there from that little small place where her thing was, she was glad to hear the information where she worked, where she operates out of. She don't have a dealership, that's not the problem. So it all done. But a lot of the questions they asked us, they want to keep at least 5 things together or separately. There are a ton of VMB questions around registration, titles, and things of that nature. Tags, changing tags, or tags, they pull the tag and it's showing a different owner than what who said they owned it. That's what we do that. It does that. And that's why I was saying that the two VMB entities along with us and the zoning officials working together, we probably could have all the lives, not all of them, probably a lot. But to my knowledge, though, this is the first I've heard of the developer with having any interaction with zoning officials in terms of working with them. We've always took some people to them to get the required documentation, but we've never really talked to them. And never really talked to us. And then through conversations, we need to involve them as well.
Well, I'd say in some of the rural areas too, you probably.
Yeah, we do.
Have a lot of that.
And And I'm thinking at the state conference, you're telling us at the state conference, everybody. is there. So the ones we have not reached so far may be there, and we don't have to reach out to them at that time. At least to educate them as to who we are, what we do, and if you have people together at the same opportunity. That's great.
Who you reached out to, or is this the first?
Barbara, we got Barbara, and this is the first she's heard. Okay. But that is
a question. So is this part of what you said was a collaboration between us and the zoning folks to identify curb zoning? I mean, that's a huge loss of income to the state, just as far as sales tax on money. And that's rampant. Everywhere I go throughout the state of Virginia, I drive all the highways, you can see it. 3 or 4, I drove past the place in Winchester, I've got 4 cars in his driveway for sale. And I've seen cars for sale in this one location for over 5 years now. And I brought it to your attention before, and this guy's still selling cars in his driveway. So,
All right, okay, and the last item I have, we touched on a little bit earlier, but this is dealing with legal internet activity. And it's out there, you know it's out there. A lot of it out there, and unfortunately, you know, whenever you have any process, you're gonna find somebody out there who's gonna spend more energy trying to undermine the process. And Chris has given me a few recently that I've looked at, reviewed, not in our authority, and I'll turn it over to the for. And she's taking it into the appropriate people based off of what she's seeing. And in some of the cases, that's here in the state or in the area, they're taking appropriate action. Whether that's to investigate further, whether it's to set up some type of sting, I don't know, but they happen. But my point here is that when you see these things, let us know. As you pretty much know, if you don't know, the dealer board itself is only 27 dealers worth of people. We have 25 full-time people and 2 part-time. And 2 part-time employees are both field reps. We are not proactive at level 1 when it comes to looking at internet dealership or looking for violations because we have such a huge demand workload from consumer complaints through this process. But we do look at internet violations. We do look at stuff like this, but we don't look at it every day. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, because I'm stopping. But we do look at it maybe a day or 2 a week. So we do that. But if you have anything, tips or any leads, that gives us a focus to go where you can see it and work on it. Because otherwise, we just surfing and maybe finding something, but more than likely not finding it. Remember, we have 4,000 plus licensed dealers. That we don't have. And we have gotten most of the internet stuff that we get, or most of the advertising things that we do get, violation wise or complaint wise, comes from somebody tipping us off. That's supposed to be possible. Like I said, we do look for them. And we might find something on Craigslist here and there. But the other violations, we just had one recently dealing with a condition issue. That was a hot issue a couple of years ago that we finally made able to actually pinpoint and catch somebody actually doing it. And so that's what we need. So if you got something, please share it with them. All the deals will take it and go with it. Otherwise, it's a struggle for us to divide. I appreciate the cooperation and understanding. Any questions with that? If there are no questions, I'm gonna be quiet. Turn it back over to you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. One more thing. I apologize. It is a custom or a process. The dealer boards, I told you, 25, 27 people. We have 3 distinctive different processes. The board itself, you guys come, you hear administrative cases, you make policy and things of that nature. Okay. But we also have a component that issues the licenses, and then there's a component that does the inspection, field work. You understand, Tom? This is our most recent employee that we were able to steal from the Department of we don't steal, but maybe 1 or 2 employees.
Yeah, they friends actually.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, when we do, we don't. It's acceptable, but no. Thomas joined Food Journal, because, last month, 2 months ago, 2 months ago, and, he has been great so far. He's come in, run quickly, and, so hopefully he'll be here for years to come.
What's he doing for it?
He's in on the licensing side.
Okay, that's.
So this is a board meeting from coming to see what we do. So now what he's seeing us do today might not have an impact on him in terms of his daily duties, but he has an idea now that at least his licenses here issuing to people and make sure they meet the requirements. How important it is to make sure that we at least follow the law with the license. And that hopefully from this, he'll know that if the law says he must have 250 square feet or whatever the case may be, he won't. If I have to trust him to do. I wanted to make sure that for me, to see how we work and what we're going here. I guess, while you're standing there, what you want to add?
Just a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
What's your background? What's in your background?
I moved here from New York 3 years ago.
I couldn't tell.
And, August 20, October, I got a part-time job at the DMV. I started at West Rancho. And I just got some full-time, was working downstairs full-time for over a year, then I went up to customer records. And then,
We have in most cases, if not within 90 days, we both kind of talk.
Yes, I have one quick question. Is there anything in place about folks that are on the dealer board that never attend?
Yes, I would say, well, there's nothing that we can do per se, but it's my understanding that once the governor appoints you to the board, that only the governor can remove you, that's not reappointed. But every year, I send back a report card to the government staff of those who attended meetings. So questions asked, how many meetings have you had? How many did you attend? And during the meetings that they were there, what was their participation level? So they do get feedback from us about it.
So that'll happen next month in December.
It should be happening pretty soon. Yeah. It's usually around June time. Yeah. Yeah, usually around June time. But also, because this board is, I get inquiries from the Commonwealth Secretary about sitting board members as far as those that are looking to reappoint. And they may tell me, for instance, they told me for this board meeting, we may have 3 or 4 board members. Well, we don't have any, but that's always the case. But for the most part, I'm looking to reappoint somebody that would ask me, this is a person comes to the meeting, number one, and we can participate. And I will provide the feedback at that time. That's all I have. But they do check on it around May, June, July time. All right, thank you. All right, I don't think there's any new business before the board, so I will move to adjourn. All those in favor? Don't vote no. So, thank you.